Hey everyone, welcome back. We're diving into something pretty fascinating this time from Allan Kardec's The Spirits book. The chapter is called The Three Kingdoms. And it's all about this idea of like a hierarchy in nature, from like rocks and plants to animals and then, all the way to us humans.
You know what's really cool about Kardec is that he got all this information by talking to spirits through mediums. So it's like we're getting this glimpse into another whole realm of knowledge about like the nature of life itself.
It's like we have this like ancient wisdom right at our fingertips. I mean,
Yeah.
we've all thought about it at some point. Do plants have feelings? Do animals have souls? This chapter really tries to, tackle those big questions.
Yeah, it does. And it starts by laying out these 4 levels of nature according to the spirits. So you have minerals, plants, animals, and then us humans at the top.
So each level is like more complex than the one before it.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's start at the bottom with plants. I always wondered about this one. Like, do they actually feel anything when we, disturb them?
Well, according to the spirits, plants only have what they call like organic life. So they grow and adapt to their environment. But they don't think or feel pain the way we do.
So like when a Venus flytrap snaps shut, it's not really making a choice.
Right. It's more like a mechanical reaction, not a conscious decision.
So maybe I don't have to feel bad about picking my basil then.
Probably not.
But it does make you wonder about, where's that line between just reacting and actually being aware?
Yeah, it really does. It makes you think about what consciousness really is. And you know what's interesting? The spirits say that even on more advanced planets, plants are basically the same. No thoughts, no feelings, just organic life.
Huh. So plants are consistent across the universe, at least according to the spirits. But what about animals? They seem a lot more complex than plants. Where do they fit in?
That's where things get really interesting. Because the spirits say humans are unique. We have intelligence, free will, a connection to God. Animals might show some intelligence, but they're mostly driven by instinct.
So even though my cat can figure out how to open doors, she's not exactly contemplating the meaning of life.
Right. The spirits are really clear about this.
Yeah.
Human consciousness is something special. Animals have some will and intelligence for sure, but they're ultimately focused on their basic needs, survival, that kind of thing.
That makes sense.
Ugh.
But they definitely communicate with each other, right? What do the spirits say about that?
Oh, they definitely recognize that. But they say it's not through language like ours. It's more about using sounds and body language and sense to express their needs and feelings in the moment,
So they're not having deep philosophical debates.
Okay.
Okay, but here's the big question that everyone wants to know. Do they have souls?
That's where things get even more interesting. The spirits say yes. Animals do have souls, but they're different and less developed than human souls.
Hold on. Less developed. Does that mean they can evolve into human souls? Like, could my cat come back as a human in another life?
Now that's a great question. And it leads us right into the next big topic from the chapter, this idea of metempsychosis, the idea that souls can be reborn. So you're wondering if Fluffy could come back as like, I don't know, a philosopher or something in her next life.
Right. Is that what the spirits are saying? That my cat could be a human someday?
Well, not exactly. They actually say no to that traditional idea of metempsychosis. They say that would mean going backwards, like regressing. And they believe souls are always moving forward, evolving,
Okay, so no reincarnation for Fluffy. I bet some pet owners would be a little bummed to hear that.
Yeah, maybe. But it's not that simple.
No.
They do say it's possible that a soul's journey could begin in, like, lower forms of life.
What?
Yeah, and then gradually develop into a human consciousness.
So, like, we could have all been amoebas at some point. That's kind of wild.
Yeah, it is a pretty wild thought. Really makes you think about things differently. But to be fair to the spirits, they admit that the origin of human souls is a total mystery. In fact, they present 2 different viewpoints in the book, and they don't even say which one they agree with.
2 viewpoints. Okay, now I'm really curious. What are they?
So, one viewpoint is that human souls, they develop over time from the intelligence that's in all living things.
Yeah.
Like even the simplest life forms. So even a tiny little organism has a little spark of consciousness that could eventually lead to a human level of awareness.
Wow. So it's like this like grand chain of being, everything's connected.
Exactly. It really changes how we think about all life, doesn't it?
For sure.
But then they also give the second viewpoint. This one might be a little easier for us humans to swallow.
I'm guessing this is the one where humans are special and we've always been human.
You got it. This view says that human souls have always belonged to the human race. totally separate from animal souls.
Hmm.
No switching between species. And human souls are unique in their ability to grow morally and spiritually.
So two very different ideas about where souls come from. Which one does the Spirit say is right?
Well, that's the thing. They don't choose. They're like, the origin of spirits is unknown. But what they do emphasize is that a soul, no matter where it starts, survives death, keeps its individuality, and keeps evolving.
So no clear answer, but they're definitely encouraging us to think about these big questions.
Exactly. And that's what's so great about this chapter. It's not about having all the answers, but about expanding our understanding of life and consciousness and, all of that.
Yeah. I could definitely see why Kardec's work has had such a big impact on people. But okay, stepping back for a sec. What's the overall message here for us, for the listeners?
I think the big takeaway is that there's a hierarchy in life, but it's all interconnected. We see the differences between minerals and plants and animals and humans in terms of their awareness. But there's also this underlying thread of intelligence, a spark of consciousness that's present in everything.
So even though we're at the top of the ladder here on Earth, we're still part of this much bigger picture. That has big implications for how we see ourselves in the universe and how we treat other living things.
Absolutely.
This is really making me think.
Me too.
Okay, so we've talked about the 4 levels of nature, the difference between plant and animal intelligence, this whole idea of an animal soul, and these 2 different ideas about where human souls come from. What's next?
Well, now that we've laid all that groundwork, I think it's time to explore what all of this means for how we relate to other species, especially in light of what the spirits say about animals on other worlds, more evolved worlds.
So if animals on other planets are more evolved, does that change how we should think about animals here on Earth? So if animals on other planets are, smarter than the ones here,
Yeah.
does that mean we need to rethink how we treat animals on Earth?
Yeah. It's a really big question. I mean, people have been arguing about this for a long time. If animals have souls, even less developed ones, does that give them rights? Does it change how we should treat them? All that.
It makes you think about things like factory farming, animal testing, even just how we interact with animals in our everyday lives. It's different if we all come from the same place.
Yeah.
From this universal intelligence, right?
Totally. And it's interesting what the spirits say about animals on those more evolved worlds. They call them intelligent servants.
Intelligent servants.
Yeah. Which suggests a kind of partnership, right? Like humans and animals working together, which is pretty different from how we do things here.
Yeah, it is. But even in a partnership, there's still someone in charge. Humans would still be the ones making the decisions, right? I mean, is that really ethical?
Well, that brings up a really important point about what progress really means. Does it always mean that some species are in charge of others? Or can we think about a future where all beings are treated with respect, no matter how evolved they are?
Those are some really deep questions. This whole conversation has really taken us on a journey. We started with, can plants feel pain? And now we're talking about the whole future of humanity and animals.
Wow. That's what happens when you start exploring these ideas. They challenge you to think differently, to step outside the box and face the big questions,
I do. So what would you say is the main takeaway for our listeners today? What should they be thinking about after this deep dive into the 3 kingdoms?
How about this? Next time you see an animal, any animal, try to see it as a fellow traveler on this big journey of evolution, a being with its own consciousness, its own soul, maybe.
That's a beautiful thought. And it really captures what this whole deep dive has been about. Opening our minds to new ideas, questioning what we think we know, and approaching the mysteries of life with a sense of wonder and respect.
Absolutely. And remember, this is just the beginning. There's so much more to explore in the Spirits book. We encourage you to keep reading, keep thinking, and come to your own conclusions.
Thanks for joining us on this incredible journey, everyone. Until next time, keep those minds curious and those hearts open.